Hey guys, it's Stacy from My Petite Garden. Thank you so much for watching this video. So today I'm going to share with you guys some very basic, simple Hoya care tips or care guide, whatever you want to call it, that I personally find helpful or that has worked for me. So I know a lot of you guys have been asking me to talk a little bit about my Hoya care tips, and quite honestly, I take care of my Hoyas the same way that I take care of quite a lot of my houseplants. What I'm gonna share with you guys today is really nothing new. It's nothing that hasn't been already said, but nonetheless, I'm gonna share with you guys my experience and what has worked for me. So I did jot down some notes for you guys just so I can kind of make sure I don't miss anything. And we're gonna talk about potting medium, light, water, humidity, fertilizing, and pests. I'm not talking about, specific types of Hoyas, because there are certainly those types of Hoyas that require additional attention or like higher humidity than others. So I'm just talking about general Hoya care here. So nothing specific to a specific type of Hoya. And also, I just want to preface this by saying that, what I'm sharing with you is just my personal experience and what has worked for me. It might not work for you the same way, and vice versa. Maybe some things work for you and it might not work for me. So I just want you guys to kind of keep that in mind. The best way to kind of learn what works for your Hoyas or any houseplant really is just trial and error. Like, that's how I personally learn the best way to take care of my plants, whether it be Hoyas or any other plant. So yeah, that's just my number one piece of advice. Okay, so let's start off with potting medium. I use 3 different types of potting mediums for my Hoyas. The first one would be just, regular potting mix, well-draining potting mix. And I've kind of shown you guys what I use in my potting mix. So I'll leave a link to the video here or here in case you guys want to check it out. So, and then the next one is sphagnum moss, and lastly would be leca or semi-hydro. The reason why I actually started using different types of potting mediums is because I noticed certain Hoyas were not doing well in a specific type of medium, so I just kind of switched the medium and kind of experimented, and whichever works the best, I just kind of stuck with that. And that's basically how I go about most of my plant care. Yeah. So the next thing I want to talk about is light. Most of my Hoyas get medium to bright indirect light, and some of them are under grow lights as well. The ones that are on my shelves, they are under grow lights. And then the rest I have either around the windows. And let me just let you guys know the direction that my windows are facing. In my bedroom, my windows are facing east, and then here out in the living room, you notice my windows are kind of like L-shaped, so they are east facing and northeast facing. So those are the directions of my windows. So they do get pretty good morning sun for a good, I would say, 4 hours or so. And then out here, I do get some afternoon sun as well. So for the Hoyas that I keep directly on the windowsill, they do get quite a bit of light. And the way I go about it is I find that certain Hoyas are more acceptable of that brighter light. For example, the Hoya Sunrise, I find that it gets sun stressed, and so while other Hoyas, their leaves might start to look a little bit burnt. So I think for me, generally as a whole, I think Hoyas do pretty good in bright and direct light. I don't think they really mind it, as long as it's not like right under bright direct sun. I think it should be okay. Again, obviously you have to monitor your plants to see how they receive it. So yeah, but for the most part, I would say I do give them all some sort of either medium to bright, mostly bright in direct light. So even the ones under grow lights, they do fairly well. In terms of watering, I think the #1 rule of thumb for myself is to water when dry, and that goes for all the different potting mediums that I use, whether it's sorry, my AC just turned on, whether it's leca, sphagnum moss, or potting mix. So let's talk about the root system of Hoyas a little bit. For Hoyas, they tend to have very shallow root systems and the roots are very fine. So it makes them a little bit more prone to like things like root rot because it's just such a very, very tiny little root system. And because of that, I personally tend to like to keep my Hoyas a little bit more root bound or keep them in a smaller pot. And I think they also enjoy to be a little bit root bound. It kind of slims down the chances of potential root rot, in my opinion. So in potting soil, I would always wait until the soil is dried completely before I water again. Same goes for sphagnum moss. I'll just wait until, you know, the parts that I can see or touch is dry, then I'll water it a little bit again. And then in terms of leca, I would just wait until the water reservoir is completely depleted and then I'll refill it again. That's just how I want to go about it, just to avoid any issues, because root rot is just something your plant cannot come back from. Next topic is humidity. For the most part, I don't find that the Hoyas in my care require any additional humidity. That being said, I'm not talking about any more like special Hoyas or like more fussy Hoyas. I'm just talking about generally. I don't think Hoyas require extra humidity. Will they do better in high humidity? Probably. Considering, you know, where they're native to, I'm sure they would not mind a little boost of humidity. But if you can't do that for them, they'll be fine. What I did notice is that when they do receive a little bit more humidity, I do notice a boost in growth and they'll grow a little bit faster. That's just what I've noticed. The Hoyas that I have increased humidity for are the ones that I have put inside terrariums or cloches, just enclosures. And I've noticed that they do, you know, grow a little bit faster. What I tend to like to put inside enclosures are the smaller Hoyas, which are like, you know, baby little cuttings, rooted cuttings of Hoyas that I kind of want to just aid a little bit in terms of growth. And I find that it does help quite a bit. Next is fertilizing. I fertilize my Hoyas the same way I fertilize all of my houseplants, and that's once a month during the growing seasons, which is spring and summertime. I'm not the best at fertilizing, I have to admit. I sometimes forget and I will skip a month or two. Yeah. So, but when I do remember to fertilize, it's once a month. And I'll show you guys the fertilizers that I use or have been using for as long as I can remember. So for the Hoyas or plants in general that are in potting soil, I use, well, the one that I use right now is the, what is this called? Schultz plant food. It's their liquid plant food. This is their 10-15-10 all-purpose liquid plant food, and I've been using this for a really long time, and this is my favorite one so far. In between using this one, I have tested out and regretted it right away, almost. This organic one. So that one is synthetic and this one is organic. And this is the Espoma organic fertilizer. I'm sure it works fine, but I just cannot get over the smell of this. Wow. I don't think I can ever use an organic fertilizer again because the smell is just really strong. And it's like rancid. It smells like, I can't even explain it. I would open it and smell it, but I don't want to. It smells like really bad, like old fish. Yeah. Yeah, I personally just can't. I have a little bit of this left. I try to just finish it up, but I don't know if I can continue. And then for the ones in, oh, and I use this for the ones in moss also. I just use the same fertilizer. And then I just followed the instructions on here as to how much to use. I always dilute it. And then for the ones that are in semi-hydro, I use General Hydroponics fertilizer. I don't have the packaging anymore, so I'll see if I can like find a picture of it, and if not, it's linked in my Amazon store, so if you guys want to check it out, it's there. So I use that. It's a granular, like it's powder, and then you just mix it in the water. In addition, I do know people like to use orchid fertilizer or orchid spray on their Hoya foliage to promote growth. So I've used it before as well. This is the one that I use. I know Miracle Grow also has one. This one I just got from Amazon, and I honestly can't say that whether I notice a difference or not. I can't say if it works or not, but it doesn't do any harm, not that I noticed anyway. So I will use it when I remember. Yeah, I don't know how often you're supposed to spray this, but yeah, they said to just spray it. Well, the instructions say to spray with regular watering. So I only spray it maybe whenever I fertilize, or no, actually, no, I don't. I just spray whenever I remember, and it's not that often, to be honest with you. Yeah, so that's just another option for you guys if you guys, you know, are interested. Okay, so the last topic I want to talk to you guys about is pests. So I noticed that on my Hoyas, my smaller leafed Hoyas are more prone to pests. Types of pests that I deal with are mealybugs and spider mites. So those are the two that I've noticed on my plants. I'm a little OCD, so I check my plants very often, and I like really look at them. So I usually catch the problem pretty early on. However, if you like let it kind of manifest and catch it a little bit, you know, maybe when it's become a bigger problem, you know, it might be harder to get rid of. But I would say for spider mites, the way that I have personally gone about treating it is neem oil mixed with Castile soap mixed with water in a spray bottle, and I just kind of spray the whole plant down and then repeat the process. I would say about once a week or maybe every few days until you notice that there are no more spider mites left. However, sometimes I do skip the neem oil just because it has a really strong smell, and it's not something that I personally am a fan of. So sometimes I just use Castile soap and water mixture and just spray it like that, and I think it works pretty well too. So that's an option. As far as mealybugs go, I sometimes use the same spray or alcohol mixed with water, or alcohol mixed with Castile soap mixed with water in a spray bottle, and then spray the plant down. And then for the, you know, the ones that you see are stuck on, the mealybugs that are stuck onto the foliage or wherever you see them, I would use a Q-tip and then, or a cotton swab, and just dip it into alcohol and, you know, remove those manually. It's very tedious, but if you can't spray it down, that would be the way to do it. And honestly, I find that spider mites are a little bit easier to get rid of than mealybugs. I can't really tell you why. It's just my experience. That's just what it is. So yeah, the lighting is getting weird again. Now it's super bright. I don't know what to do. Okay. Yeah, so that's just the way that I go about treating pests. And I think the key to preventing a infestation is just to keep on top of it and check your plants as often as you can. And something that I personally started doing this year is to always like wipe down my plant leaves, the foliage, and I like to shower my plants too, so that kind of helps remove any kind of dust buildup and anything like that that can harbor pests or like invite pests. So yeah, I mean, I think in terms of pest control, the best way to do it is just to keep on top of it. I don't think it's possible to completely get rid of pests. It's just something that you're gonna have to kind of maintain and keep on top of. So yeah, it's just part of plant parenthood. And yeah, I think that covers everything. If you guys have any more questions that I have not addressed in this video, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. And as always, thank you so much for all of your support, and please remember to comment, like, and subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.